Bryce Underwood isn't ready to take over at Michigan. People are saying not only is he not big enough and not strong enough, but he also doesn't throw a good enough football yet. Surprise, surprise. Bryce Underwood is still a high school kid. You can't expect a high school kid to be able to go to the college level and to be able to start at quarterback day one. He's going out there and playing against guys who are 24 and 25 years old on their sixth year of college football. What did you expect from him, Michigan? Bryce Underwood not being prepared to play is nothing but the University of Michigan's fault because they don't have a competition for him. They didn't get anybody in the portal, and now they just don't have a quarterback after they have leveraged all of their money in the world to Bryce Underwood. This is a huge mistake from Michigan because he obviously needs time to get ready. He's not a superhero, he was just a good recruit. When you look at Michigan, they have always managed their quarterbacks terribly historically. You can't name one good quarterback who has ever come out of the University of Michigan aside of Tom Brady. And Tom Brady was a sixth round draft pick. Michigan can't figure out what to do with their quarterbacks, and it's not enticing for quarterbacks to go to Michigan because of the system that they play. No good quarterback wants to go to the University of Michigan and hand the ball off 30 times a game. That's who the University of Michigan is, and they will never budge off of that. With that being said, Bryce Underwood, no matter how much money they paid you, you shouldn't have sacrificed your career and your ability to develop in order to go to the University of Michigan. That's a mistake. Is Shamar Moore the head coach of Michigan yet? I know that they made him the interim head coach for an entire year, which was insane. They made that man work and earn a job that he had already earned for an entire year. And now he's suspended 2 games going into next year. And really, it was all just a setup to make Shamar look bad. They said, "Hey, you have a shot to win the head coaching job of this team." Except last year, we're going to give you a roster that's not that good. You're not going to actually have a chance to compete. And then this upcoming year, you're going to be suspended. So if you have 2 bad years in a row, Shamar, you're going to get fired. We're going to replace you because Michigan doesn't typically have black head coaches. So us having you here was an anomaly to begin with. We're going to put you in a position to where you can't have success. And then after that, good luck to you, brother. We gave you a fair shot because you earned it and you didn't do well with it. That's what Michigan is doing to Shamar, and I feel bad for the situation that he's in because there's no winning. What he should have done was leave Michigan as soon as he got offered the head coaching job, and he should have gone the interim head coaching job, and he should have gone to another university that was going to lock him down to a head coaching job on contract. Alabama football will never be what it once was. The reason why is that players play for coaches, not universities. Once Nick Saban left Alabama, everything changed. Not only the intensity of the team and not only the wins and losses, but everything about Alabama football changed. They're no longer the head of ESPN. They no longer have the most NIL money. They're no longer the biggest thing moving right now. Alabama football is not the product that it once was, and it honestly will never be the biggest product again with NIL. Now, with NIL, not only has Georgia surpassed Alabama, but Ohio State is the king right now, and Texas football is back. With that being said, Alabama is looking to go at least a 25-year cycle to where they're not going to be the number one dominant program again. And that's going to be until they get rid of this coach and they find a coach at that university that players actually believe in and want to play for. Kalen DeBoer is not an Alabama head football coach. He's not a coach that players want to play for, and he doesn't know football at some extremely high level. All that Kalen DeBoer has done at this point of his career is honestly make Nick Saban look like a better coach. He has made Alabama fans wish that Nick Saban stood around, and he's made them appreciate what they just had before Kalen DeBoer got there. He is not exceeding, and the biggest problem of it all is that Kalen DeBoer can't recruit. The reason that Alabama isn't great is because they don't have the best players anymore. The best players don't want to go to Alabama. The best players want to go to Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. Alabama is not in the picture anymore. Georgia is fourth behind those schools, and Alabama is maybe fifth, sixth, or seventh, depending who is the most NIL money to offer. Alabama football is not in the status that they once were, and that's because of Kalen DeBoer. The head coach leads the program, and players play for coaches, not universities. Regardless of how young he is, Ryan Williams hasn't made a leap from year one to year two. Ryan Williams is the classic act of a character who was good at high school football, good enough to play college football, but he's not going to develop from this point to the next. There are a lot of things that Ryan Williams did well in his freshman year. There are also a lot of things that Ryan Williams looks that there are also a lot of things that Ryan Williams was not great at. Ryan Williams wasn't an impact player in every single game. Ryan Williams couldn't beat man-to-man coverage. Ryan Williams was a player who benefited off of the fact of having other great players on his team, but when you manned him up and you put him in a one-to-one situation, he had issues with that. This upcoming year, there's a lot of things that Ryan Williams has to work on if he wants to be a player that's going to the NFL draft in another year from now. Scott Satterfield has done nothing for the University of Cincinnati's football program except ruin something that was once great. When Luke Fickell was the head coach of the University of Cincinnati, they had a star studded college football program who was in the NCAA Final Four, meaning that they were competing for a national championship. Every step of the program has gone down since Scott Satterfield got to Cincinnati, including recruiting, performance on the field, development in the weight room, and other assistant coaching. Scott Satterfield was unsuccessful at Louisville to say the least. He had multiple bad years in a row, and Louisville got a lot better after Scott Satterfield left. When Scott Satterfield got to the University of Cincinnati, he brought over a bunch of the same coaches that he had at Louisville. How do you think that the same people and the same program that you have are going to go to another school an hour and a half away and have a different impact than you were having previously? Scott Satterfield lacks analytical thinking, and when you look at his resume is overstated. Scott Satterfield hasn't done anything as an NCAA head football coach since he was at Appalachian State. Having an upset victory against Michigan 15 years ago should not guarantee a man a head coaching job at two major universities 15 years later. That's all that I have to say about Scott Satterfield. This is a make it or break it year for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They're on the brink of the dynasty. Meanwhile, at the exact same time, they are on the longest losing streak against their rivals that we have experienced in over 40 years. Ohio State needs to beat Michigan as the biggest emphasis of the entire football season. If they do that, the season is a success. If they don't beat Michigan, the season is a failure, and that is it. That is the storyline, that is the headline, that is the focus of Ohio State's football season. Ohio State clearly has the best football team in the country. Coming into the next year, they have a lot of players who are still on the national championship team. They have the best player in the entire country in Jeremiah Smith, and they probably have the second best player in the country in Caleb Downs. Michigan is a struggling football team, and if Ohio State can't beat them this year, then then Ohio State must concede to them as the better program. This is the year for Ohio State to finally. If Ohio State doesn't if Ohio State doesn't win a national championship, but they do beat Michigan, then this season was a success.